Guilty conspiracy, guilty firearms.
What? So I'm gonna let you go,
Jason,
man.
Guilty conspiracy, not guilty firearms.
Okay, thanks.
Jason guilty of conspiracy.
Yes.
He was the mastermind amongst the whole
Okay,
thing.
okay,
It wasn't
thanks.
Bundy after.
Okay, can you?
He was being sarcastic. Funny.
So what was it again, sir?
Didn't mean that.
So it is Duane Ehmaer, not guilty conspiracy, guilty depredation of government property. Jake Ryan, not guilty conspiracy, not guilty firearms, guilty depredation of government property. Darryl Thorn, guilty of conspiracy, guilty of firearms in a federal facility. Jason Patrick, guilty of conspiracy, not guilty of firearms in a federal facility.
So
No, Jason Patrick.
That's it.
Jason
No.
Patrick
Conspiracy.
guilty of conspiracy.
Yes.
No.
Come out in the warrant.
There's no.
That's it.
You get your name?
Ryan has it. I work for OPD.
Spell it first and last.
RyanHaas.
can you read those one more time for us, please? I'm sorry.
Yes. Hold on. My colleague had just tweeted it. I gotta find it again. Sorry, it'll take me a second.
No, that's just what they said. It wasn't really. It'll come out the way. It was just
I know he wasn't, James. I'm asking what the
Yes.
verdict for you.
So if you want to, are you guys on Twitter? Okay. If you go to Conrad Wilson on Twitter, he just tweeted a whole verdict sheet, so it's easy to see.
Can you just say the full conspiracy
Sure.
charges?
So for the conspiracy, it was Jason and Darryl were guilty of conspiracy. Yeah. So Duane and Jake were not guilty of conspiracy.
Reed and Jay are not guilty of conspiracy. They came after the fact.
Anything else?
That's good. Thank you, sir.
Formed no agreement.
Yeah, on Twitter, Conrad Wilson.
Formed no agreement.
Yep.
It's not here later.
Redo the entire trial, add a whole new set of charges. I mean, I would be shocked if Judge Brown acquits anybody. And so I think it was a difficult situation for these defendants because all the additional time between the fall and now was contribute to the government refining their presentation, limiting evidence and figuring out ways to change the case. And I think the dynamic in the room without Am and Bundy there changed. And so I think that the result ends up being a different one. But again, not surprising. This is the government's house. They don't lose in this building. And so the fact that they lost the first time made it that much more important and compelling. And that's why, despite a $12 million law enforcement response, they were content if they got nothing more than convictions on misdemeanors. And I don't know, to what extent the firearms convictions, those weren't an issue in the trial that we had last fall. And so I don't know to what extent that ended up being an important factor in how the jury viewed the evidence generally in this case. But, I think at the end of the day, the people that engaged in this protest are people that are committed to a certain sense of justice. And the conviction in this matter is one that they can accept as a consequence of civil disobedience, of a desire to bring attention to issues that are important in their communities that are largely ignored by people in the cities. And so, I just talked to Jason Patrick, and he was convicted, I think, of a conspiracy count. And his reaction to that is one of respect and acceptance. There's frustration, obviously, on one hand. On the other hand, they knew going into this that there was a risk that these things would occur. So, the consequences of those are one that they're willing to bear. And that certainly was Mr. Medenbach's position throughout litigation when we were involved. And so I respect that about these defendants. So you can't point to a single one of them and say, they did this because they wanted to gain something personally from their participation. It just wasn't about that. And so it's a very unique case in that respect.
Do you think people can see this as justice since sort of Ammon Bundy and the leaders of the occupation were acquitted on these charges and lesser players have now been
Of course not.
convicted on
No, of course not. I mean, it's a failure. It's been a failure all the way along. It was a failure beginning on January 3rd when the federal government failed to take responsibility for enforcing the law and responding to this kind of activity at the first instance. And so, this verdict today is not a vindication of anything. It doesn't change anything about the underlying circumstances. It does nothing to address the underlying issues that led to these individuals being charged in the first place and how all of this came about. And so I think that, hopefully as the hysteria subsides, a real discussion takes place in our country about what's going to happen to communities like Burns in the future. And how it is that when the government controls all this land, people can still work and function in these rural communities. None of that has changed. And nothing about this prosecution does anything more than to support the idea that, if you want to live in a rural community, the only opportunity you have is to work for the government.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you, Matt.
Where do I go from here? Well, for me, I just happened to be here today. So I was representing someone from another case, and I ran into one of the FBI agents.
Do you feel comfortable talking on the camera? No? Okay. You want to talk on the camera? No? Not right now? Okay. 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 Well, come over here. I'll get Maureen too. Hey, Maureen. Oh, there she goes.
Ma'am, she doesn't want to be bothered.
Okay.
Can we go with her?
Yeah, go with her. Stick with her.
You too.
My name is Matt.
What's that? No, not yet. None of them yet. You want to come over here and talk a minute? Yeah. Okay. Okay, everybody. We're going to ask Kristen. She was sitting there in the courtroom.
I wear my Lavoie hat.
Okay. Get you a quick little update here of what she's seen in the courtroom. Okay, you're live.
Hi. It's heartbreaking. We were praying so hard. There was a lightheartedness before the verdict. We were all bracing ourselves, praying our Father, and knowing that each one was given an individual verdict. I just didn't feel like this. I mean, I didn't feel like the jury had the right information. They were.
So most people don't know what the verdicts are yet. Some of them are still asking. A lot of people asking yet.
Jason got conspiracy 1.
Jason was found guilty
for 1
of 1. Okay.
Conspiracy, and then we need to pray for him. And Darryl Thorn got the worst. He got 1 and 2 counts.
Okay.
Conspiracy, and then the other one was the intent to do damage upon and prevent people from working.
Okay.
And then Jake, he didn't get anything but the number 7, and I don't.
Jake Ryan was found not guilty.
All the way till
Jake Ryan's not guilty. Everybody.
But count 7, he was found guilty.
Depredation.
Okay.
Right. And then Duane was not found guilty either, except for a different count on depredation.
Okay, count 6 and count 7.
6.
Okay.
And 7. So we have a varied verdict, and thank God at least nobody got the run of the mill kind of verdict.
Yes.
But it was heartbreaking, and we know that the jury had requested the transcript of the actual court case, and they were denied it. We know that there's security cameras all the time up there. and they are recording every word in that jury, and so it wasn't available to the jury to be able to review. They were the judge said no, and so did the defense. I mean, not the defense. The government said no, we don't have a recording available for anyone. Well, we sure did have a security camera on, and we also had somebody who was, stenographer was taking it down, and then they were denied that for days. They said, well, we don't know when it'll be available. It'll take days for us to get that. So, in expediency's sake, the jury went ahead and did what they did. They went ahead and gave a verdict without the information that they had requested day one, which was they requested some kind of recording so they could review the facts. That was the request, and they were denied it. And I have a problem with that.
Yes.
We shouldn't be casting a verdict without full knowledge and being able to review. And the judge had said, well, you're requested to then just go over your notes and your memory. Well, we do know that people come in, whether they try to or not, they have bias. And just hearing that, one of the jury members had a problem with us being violent or mean. Do I look violent or mean? I don't know who she was talking about, but that was being said. So I'm just hoping that Darryl, that we pray for Darryl Thorn. He got the worst end of the deal, and also for Jason, he got. It's just, to me, the judge saying, I was there in court, and she called them co-conspirators all the way through the court, and then at the very end said, alleged co-conspirator. I believe that kind of...
Biased.
Yeah, bias was already in the court. So that's my opinion. I saw it with my own eyes, and I heard it with my own eyes, and I even have it word for word. Oh, my favorite part was the end of, I think it was Friday, that the judge had said, okay, the jury, step out of the room. I'm going to clean this up first, and then I'm going to let you back in. What does that mean? Well, I heard what it meant. It meant she was preventing people from having full testimony. That's what I heard. I heard that she was listening to testimony from the defense and saying, no, you can't be heard. No, this is not acceptable. No, this doesn't fit her agenda. Or
We've got 4 reporters here. I'm wondering who you are.
I'm just a little person. My name's Kristen.
K-R-S-T-I-N?
K-R-I-S-T-E-N.
Yeah.
I have, I was
last name?
actually a scribe in a sense. I just wrote down everything. Thomas.
T-A-O-M-A-S?
Yes.
Where are you from? Thomas.
I am from Oregon, Central Oregon. I prefer not to,
How are you connected to this?
Well, I wasn't there, and I learned about it. I'm just one of the people that have been observing, and I didn't even know much about grazing rights until Lavoie was shot and murdered. I come from a commercial fishing background, OFF, from Florida, and when I started hearing the similarities of what my own family went through, I started to investigate, where the Fish and Wildlife used to pull my father over in the boat and harass him, and now it's illegal to be a commercial fisherman in Florida with a net. That was the Ban the Nets agenda, and that's, a different story, but the same story. We're putting our food producers out of business, and where are we going to get our food? The fish that's caught in Florida is not from Florida. If it is caught, a sportsman fisherman catching it, but the commercial fishing industry is over with. It's worth looking up. They turned it into Ban the Nets agenda. And here we are.
Your reaction to this? Right?
Well, my reaction is the same reaction I had. My gut, it tells me that the jury has been denied a lot of the facts. That's my reaction. Being there and physically in the court and hearing certain things, testimony, seeing the films that the defense had, they weren't allowed to show. Or certain individuals that were physically there were not allowed to be heard. I have a problem with that because it didn't fit the agenda. Am I alone here? I have described, I've written word for word as much as I could what was being said, and I know other people did too. The fact that the jury was denied access to the facts, the recording of the actual court, is ridiculous because we know there's security cameras in there. We know they could have had that. They just wanted to review facts so they could give a just verdict. And I don't believe a just verdict was given. I really don't.
So as you can tell, we're disappointed in the verdict down here today. We definitely wasn't expecting it to come out the way it did. So Jake Ryan's not guilty of conspiracy. If you didn't get all that, so Jake Ryan's not guilty of conspiracy. Duane Ehmaer's not guilty of conspiracy. But Jason Patrick and Darryl Thorn are both. They've been found guilty of conspiracy. Jake Ryan and Duane Ehmaer were both found guilty of count 6 and 7. That's for digging the trench that they both dug. But all other charges they were found not guilty on. The gun charges against Jason Patrick, I do not think, it sounds like he did not get that charge, but just on the conspiracy charge only. And it sounds like Darryl Thorn, they found him guilty on all the charges. So, as we were just hearing there, it sounded like he got the worst deal of all of them. But definitely Darryl Thorn and Jason Patrick need our prayers. They have not come out of the courtroom today. As last time they were out in moments, but right now I'm not for sure exactly what's going on with them up there. But it's definitely a hard moment right now for everybody down here. So that's so everybody is just possibly getting on here. Jason Patrick was found guilty of conspiracy. Darryl Thorn was found guilty of conspiracy in all the charges. Jake Ryan was found not guilty of the conspiracy charges, along with Duane Ehmaer, and only found guilty on the digging of the trenches. BJ, I don't know if they took him into custody at the moment. It sounds like they let everybody out of the courtroom except for them at the moment. So all the media that were in there are all down here, but the 4 defendants have not came out of the courtroom at all at this point. So we're not exactly for sure what's happening with them at the moment. The verdicts were split. Jason Patrick and Darryl Thorn were found guilty of the conspiracy charges, and Darryl Thorn, as they were just reporting there, got the worst end of the deal of all of it. He was found guilty on looks like all charges. And but Jake Ryan and Duane Ehmaer were found not guilty on the conspiracy part of the charges. So just on count 6 and 7 is what Jake Ryan and Duane Ehmaer were charged with. Those were the digging of the trenches. So that's what we have the report to you right now. I'll probably go live a couple of more times a day, especially if they come out of the courtroom. So far, the defendants, I have not seen any of them come out. So hopefully we'll have you some more updates shortly. So that's all I have right now for you. Keep praying for us down here. Keep praying for the Nevada people. God bless, and we'll try to keep you updated just shortly again. Thank you.
A14. Well, at least he. A3. No.
Maxine, do you have a full list of the other charges as well? Or just the weapons? And 2 were guilty of conspiracy and 2 were not. Oh, there we go. I'll just hold it. So they were all not guilty of weapons? Oh no.
No, Lauren got both.
Oh my gosh, he wasn't okay. And he got, Jake Ryan is guilty of depredation of government property, and then
Take a picture and then you can.
okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Kelly's cheating.
So conspiracy, and I'm sure you guys have already heard this. I'm sorry, I'm trying to hold it together here. Darryl Thorn and Jason Patrick guilty of conspiracy and guilty of their weapons charge. Jake Ryan and Duane Ehmaer, not guilty of conspiracy, not guilty of weapons. But Jake is guilty of depredation of government property. And the only thing I didn't get was
Drove down here like 80 miles an hour.
Duane get the depredation of government property, the digging. Jake was guilty, is that they're saying?
Yes,
so then he
they
is
were
too.
both of those.
Both.
Yes, he did,
Both.
but not count one.
Not count 1 or count 2, no, not weapons then.
They just read count 1 and count 7. Was
Okay.
2 dropped against him?
Well, the weapons can only be guilty if count 1 was guilty,
right,
so
right.
that's why. So Jake Ryan and Duane were found guilty of depredation of government property.
That's so awkward. Good, I'm glad. I appreciate that.
Blaine's testimony did it. Blaine's testimony, and then I didn't see it. I don't even know. Come over here to Kristen. I don't even know. Well, the government got their stacked case. They got their stacked jury.
My gut, it tells me that the jury has been denied a lot of the facts. That's my reaction. Being there and physically in the court and hearing certain things, testimony, seeing the films that the kids had, they weren't allowed to show. Or certain individuals that were physically there were
Blaine
not
Cooper's
allowed
testimony.
to be heard.
Blaine Cooper's testimony of the meeting happening and the discussion ahead of time was the nail in the coffin. And then Ammon taking the stand and backing up the story.
Well, besides that, the federal government just beat up a bunch of good-intentioned Americans because they didn't have enough focus from the media. They didn't have enough attorneys.
The recording of the
And it all comes back
Without doing anything, you take the deal.
Yeah, I got it. What do I? Right over.
Jake was found not guilty of the conspiracy, but he was found guilty of the depredation of government. That was trying to take down for their own safety. The government saying that they shouldn't have done that. 2 months, they're giving them to sentencing. Everybody will walk free today.
Wow, Conrad Wilson dropped his life
Am I right?
Did all the defendants leave?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think the defense is all stone side. We're kind of waiting to hear from them.
Okay.
I imagine they're sort of figuring out what their next steps are. Yeah.
But they did say everybody would leave today. They didn't say they would be right away.
All the defendants are leaving today, and then they have to like report back.
They're not.
I heard it was like a 6. Did you hear this? It was 60 days. It sounded like they hadn't set up maybe a sentencing date, but it sounded like a 60-day return.
Okay.
I thought
So
that's
nobody
what
was
she said.
nobody was being cuffed in the courtroom.
No,
No.
she said no one's going to be taken into
No,
custody today.
they weren't taking
Ammon Bundy's statement to me this last weekend was if any of them are found guilty, it will be because
So
you have a group of people that assembled and had a redress of grievances about rural issues that they wanted answers to. And what happened is nobody answered. So nobody answered any of the grievances, and they shot a man and brought everybody else here for a year to do all this. If they would have acquitted me of all the charges, that's where it ends. Nothing changes, nothing happens. But through a guilty verdict, now there's an appeals process where we can talk about other constitutional violations and move forward in that arena.
Do you plan to appeal?
Absolutely. The very first time I ever talked to a lawyer, I said, we will be appealing any guilty verdict. The redress of grievances, which is a very important thing that nobody knows about due to no media coverage, I guess, because it's always been there, is totally ignored. Now, there is talk of different things happening now because of what happened, but the actual trying to talk to your legislators and say, this is really important, and especially what's happening to this man right now as a result of these things, and this isn't right, and we want you to look at it, and what they do is completely ignore you, is not really how things should be. It shouldn't take that much effort. But now the whole world knows. The whole world sees. Hopefully there's a whole lot more dialogue happening about it. And it's sort of the same as a result of this. With a complete acquittal, the dialogue ends. With a guilty verdict, appeals move forward. We continue talking about constitutional issues and violations. And the judge made a pretty clear record. Like the removal of the misdemeanors is very important. The jury doesn't even know we're charged with misdemeanor. So if the jury's trying to send a message like, hey, we don't like what happened, and so we have to find somebody guilty of something. And so that's what they did. And they don't even know that there's misdemeanors because they weren't given to the jury. That's a constitutional violation. The Second Amendment says in matters of life and liberty, I have a right to a jury trial. And the Seventh Amendment says, in matters of property over $20, I have a right to a jury trial. All that went away here. So the jury's in the dark, right? The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, the truth is, we're charged with misdemeanors, and you don't even know that we're charged with misdemeanors. And because of the nature of things, you might want to find us guilty of those misdemeanors, but you don't even get the option. So the judge created a very clear record and almost completely identified an appealable issue. She says, I don't know if I have the authority to give you a jury trial or not, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you. It's a pretty strong appeal. And so that's where you're at.
So the silver line of this, you said, for you is that at least the dialogue is now continuing.
Sure.
Because if there had been across the board, as well, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. I mean, the point is, there's bad things happening, and I think the world should know about it. Now they do, sort of, if they're listening and paying attention.
The media will report it accurately.
And it's reported accurately, right? That's the really terrible thing about this is the inflammatory nature of the coverage. The coverage of the event didn't want to give credence or credibility to the message that was being delivered, and then completely changed it into what sells newspapers and advertising on stations. Had we covered it accurately and said what it really was, we might not be doing this, we might be actually affecting positive change. But drama sells newspapers, so make it the most dramatic thing you can, and there you go.
Do you think the verdict today is fair after the first trial where everyone was found not guilty, and now today?
No, not at all. I mean, the thing about this is, if you think that what happens in court is about truth, justice, and the American way, I think you're a little bit deceived. This is a theatrical performance where the public picks winners and losers. It's not necessarily about the truth. It's about this was a government production. It's government theater is what happens in it. You can't say everything you want to say. That's why the whole Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole, as much as it's allowed in this venue? That's what I told him. Because you won't allow me to tell you the truth. There'll be all kinds of objections and whatever. The actual truth will not even be allowed to be told you. So I can't take an oath to tell the whole truth because you don't allow it. So is it unfair? I got the same system, right? I got a jury trial by jury, and that jury said something different. So as far as fair as it is, I mean, I got the same opportunity and a different jury. But I like the jury system. I just wish we would tell them the whole truth and allow them to deliberate on all the charges. I should have a jury of my peers for all the charges you charged. The fact that you took that away from me, give me this verdict here. This verdict is delivered by nature of not telling the jury the entire truth, in my opinion.
Anything else that you want to add that you think the general public should know?
Yeah, Dwight Hammond, and Dwight Hammond.
And Steve Hammond.
Any questions?
All over.
Switch media cards.
Am I even loud enough? Is your mic picking me up? Can you even hear that? Okay, all right.
Where'd you get that turkey, Paul?
Gonna go get that turkey.
I got that one at Cabela's in...
So I think we're gonna head over here now and see Jake. Gary. Send an email. So, John's... I am.
Give me just a minute before you go over there.
Wait here?
Yes.
Okay.
I got to look at
Okay. John, you got to hit that button on the charger for it to work. Oh, you did. You got it. There's so many reasons that I could say that I believe they were found guilty that I'm going to refrain from. It wasn't one thing. It was multiple things. Everything from a hand-picked jury to shortened testimonies to defense who never stood on their feet and objected. And you ask yourselves, why is that a big deal? Because when they appeal something, if they didn't object to it during the trial, it greatly hinders their ability to appeal to it. So yes, Schindler and Mumford were on their feet constantly objecting, but that meant that if the first trial had been found guilty, they would have had tons of areas to appeal. There just wasn't the same aggression at all from these attorneys. Do you want me to set this down for a minute?
No. The other protesters over there this morning, they heard the verdict and they respected us and did not come over here. They told us they would leave us alone.
Awesome. Okay.
They actually told us they were sorry about what happened.
That's awesome. Okay,
So-
are we going to march with them at all? There's some people marching against the housing issues in Portland.
We'll probably go over there with them after a while.
Okay, are you heading over here?
We'll go on over
Or
there.
are you going to wait for Jason's doing some
No,
more
we'll just go
interviews?
ahead.
So
We'll just head and go. Let them
So
stop.
Gary Hunt did not show up. He didn't call in, and the judge said she's going to move to issue an arrest warrant for Gary Hunt. She said she just has to take it under advisement, and then she can file the public statement with the courts regarding an arrest warrant for Gary Hunt. The hearing was less than 5 minutes for Gary. They said he didn't call in, he didn't show up, he didn't email. So we're gonna come over here now. I'll switch the screen around.
So you have a group of people that assembled and had a redress of grievances about rural issues that they wanted answers to. And what happened is nobody answered. So nobody answered any of the grievances, and they shot a man and brought everybody else here for a year to do all this. If they would have acquitted me of all the charges, that's where it ends. Nothing changes, nothing happens. But through a guilty verdict, now there's an appeals process where we can talk about other constitutional violations and move forward in that arena.
Do you plan to appeal?
Absolutely. The very first time I ever talked to a lawyer, I said, we will be appealing any guilty verdict. The redress of grievances, which is a very important thing that nobody knows about due to no media coverage, I guess, because it's always been there, is totally ignored. Now, there is talk of different things happening now because of what happened, but the actual trying to talk to your legislators and say, this is really important, and especially what's happening to this man right now as a result of these things, and this isn't right, and we want you to look at it, and what they do is completely ignore you, is not really how things should be. It shouldn't take that much effort. But now the whole world knows, the whole world sees. Hopefully there's a whole lot more dialogue happening about it. And it's sort of the same as a result of this. With a complete acquittal, the dialogue ends. With a guilty verdict, appeals move forward. We continue talking about constitutional issues and violations. And the judge made a pretty clear record. Like the removal of the misdemeanors is very important. The jury doesn't even know we're charged with misdemeanor. So if the jury's trying to send a message like, hey, we don't like what happened, and so we have to find somebody guilty of something. And so that's what they did. And they don't even know that there's misdemeanors because they weren't given to the jury. That's a constitutional violation. The Second Amendment says in matters of life and liberty, I have a right to a jury trial. And the Seventh Amendment says in matters of property over $20, I have a right to a jury trial. All that went away here. So the jury's in the dark, right? The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, the truth is we're charged with misdemeanors and you don't even know that we're charged with misdemeanors. And because of the nature of things, you might want to find us guilty of those misdemeanors, but you don't even get the option. So the judge created a very clear record and almost completely identified an appealable issue. She says, I don't know if I have the authority to give you a jury trial or not, and even if I did, I wouldn't give it to you. It's a pretty strong appeal. And so that's where you're at.
So the silver lining of this, you said, for you is that at least the dialogue is now continuing.
Sure.
Because if there had been across the board, as well, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. I mean, the point is, there's bad things happening, and I think the world should know about it. Now they do, sort of, if they're listening and paying attention.
The media will report it accurately.
And it's reported accurately, right? That's the really terrible thing about this is the inflammatory nature of the coverage. The coverage of the event didn't want to give credence or credibility to the message that was being delivered, and then completely changed it into what sells newspapers and advertising on stations. Had we covered it accurately and said what it really was, we might not be doing this, we might be actually affecting positive change. But drama sells newspapers, so make it the most dramatic thing you can, and there you go.
Do you think the verdict today is fair after the first trial where everyone was found not guilty, and now today?
No, not at all. I mean, the thing about this is, if you think that what happens in court is about truth, justice, and the American way, I think you're a little bit deceived. This is a theatrical performance where the public picks winners and losers. It's not necessarily about the truth. It's about this was a government production. It's government theater is what happens in it. You can't say everything you want to say. That's why the whole, you swear to tell the truth, as much as it's allowed in this venue. That's what I told him. Because you won't allow me to tell you the truth. There'll be all kinds of objections or whatever. The actual truth will not even be allowed to be told. So I can't take an oath to tell the whole truth because you don't allow it. So is it unfair? I got the same system, right? I got a jury trial by jury, and that jury said something different. So as far as fair as it is, I mean, I got the same opportunity and a different jury. But I like the jury system. I just wish we would tell them the whole truth and allow them to deliberate on all the charges. I should have a jury of my peers for all the charges you charged. The fact that you took that away from me, give me this verdict here. This verdict is delivered by nature of not telling the jury the entire truth, in my opinion.
Anything else that you want to add or that you think the general public should know?
Yeah, Duane Ehmaer, and Duane Ehmaer.
And Steve Hammond.
Any questions?
All over.
Switch media cards.
Am I even loud enough? Is your mic picking me up? Can you even hear that? Okay, all right.
Where'd you get that turkey, Paul?
Time to go get that turkey.
I got that one at Cabela's in...
So I think we're gonna head over here now and see Jake. Gary. Send an email. So John's. I am.
Okay, give me just a minute before you go over there.
Wait here.
Yes.
Okay.
I got you looking typing.
Okay. John, you got to hit that button on the charger for it to work. Oh, you did. You got it. There's so many reasons that I could say that I believe they were found guilty that I'm gonna refrain from. It wasn't one thing. It was multiple things. Everything from a hand-picked jury to shortened testimonies to defense who never stood on their feet and objected. And you ask yourselves, why is that a big deal? Because when they appeal something, if they didn't object to it during the trial, it greatly hinders their ability to appeal to it. So yes, Schindler and Mumford were on their feet constantly objecting, but that meant that if the first trial had been found guilty, they would have had tons of areas to appeal. There just wasn't the same aggression at all from these attorneys. Do you want me to set this down for a minute?
No. The other protesters over there this morning, they heard the verdict and they respected us and did not come over here. They told us they would leave us alone.
Awesome. Okay.
They actually told us they was sorry about what happened.
That's awesome. Okay,
So-
are we going to march with them at all? There's some people marching against the housing issues in Portland.
We'll probably go over there with them after a while.
Okay, are you heading over here?
Yep, we'll go on over there.
Or are you going to wait for Jason's doing some more
we'll just go
interviews?
ahead.
So,
We'll just head and go. Let them
so
talk.
Gary Hunt did not show up. He didn't call in, and the judge said she's going to move to issue an arrest warrant for Gary Hunt. She said she just has to take it under advisement, and then she can file the public statement with the courts regarding an arrest warrant for Gary Hunt. The hearing was less than 5 minutes for Gary. They said he didn't call in, he didn't show up, he didn't email. So we're gonna come over here now. I'll switch the screen around.